Okay.
Officially a council meeting.
Continuation.
Is it continuation or?
Did we
is
do
it
roll
special?
call?
We did all that before.
Oh, so this is also
So I,
one meeting.
don't we have a, where's our, I thought we had something else to do tonight.
Legislation.
Yeah. So you can continue to talk until we do the legislation. But, you know, that's just what I was trying to tell him, that, you know, I talked to him 2 days ago and told him, you know, what we're looking at, and he saw it, and he told me he thought that he could do it in that budget. And that's why I was shocked when it comes back 3 million higher. I mean, don't give me this,
And that's what Mario and
telling me you can do it. Then you should have just said, construction budget needs to be,
Right.
you know, 7 million.
7.5 or whatever, yeah.
Or just say, you know, I can't do it.
Can't do it.
So he said, well, that's because we haven't sat down and talked to you and see where we're at, and just here and there.
4 billion? We're not gonna cut it in half.
The other question, which I don't know the answer to, is are they including the cost of equipment, the fitness equipment, or is that in his $200 square foot number, or is it out of his $200?
That was in it.
My guess is it's in it.
It's in it, that's what I'm talking about.
And so you add, if you're looking at 60 pieces of equipment and weights,
Oh, now that I don't know, if he's got that part, but like the gymnasium floor, the, you know,
Oh,
other
he's
stuff.
got that.
so when you're comparing a finished cost, you have to ask what amenities are in that number.
Right.
Because it might make, the big issue you have to decide is, do you want to buy equipment, the treadmills and the steppers and all that kind of stuff, or do you want to lease it on a 2 or 3 year lease and constantly be turning over, because that stuff will break down. I mean, even if you get the best stuff, it's just,
Right.
it's inevitable. And I think the trend, at least I can speak to what Westlake does, which is the rec center I belong to, is they lease they buy the weights, because you gotta work pretty hard to break a weight. It's lead, I mean, go ahead, have at it. And that equipment is purchased, but the other equipment is leased.
And also, what's popular in 2014 won't necessarily be popular in 2007.
Treadmill, I think you can rest assured is gonna be needed, but whether
Some
ellipticals are
is-
still popular, or it's a
Yes,
ski machine, I mean, you know, that stuff always changes. And you need to be able to adjust to that, because that's what your membership wants to see. We received, you know, pricing proposals. Or Mayor, how do you want to proceed? You want me to kind of talk about the numbers that I sent out a little bit? Or?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. What I tried to do in the spreadsheet that I distributed, and this is confidential information, it is technically confidential until we make a selection. But you all have, and so I won't talk about the numbers specifically, because by statute, that's confidential until we make a decision, then everything's public. It's not that we're hiding anything, it's just that it's unfair to the participants in the process to talk about their number, because things might get revised slightly. What I have given to all of you is a spreadsheet, which is my attempt to take all the proposals and kind of make them equal. So I've done some things, if you will, and I've also compared their hours. So I have, for example, and I can certainly talk about hours, but Ruland is proposing, they have 2,204 hours. When we look at the proposal from Tamarios, they're at 2,900 staff hours, and then the proposal from C.T. Taylor is 2,329 hours. So our goal here, it's not lowest bid, we're trying to come up with the best value for the village. And so that involves us looking, numbers are important, and we have pricing that we've tried to keep equal, but you also can consider the number of hours that you're getting for that money, because you might determine that Tamarios, which actually, from my analysis, has probably given us the best price, and they have the most staff hours, so that would point to they're giving us the best value, assuming the qualitative stuff, the presentation, and where you're comfortable with their design team. And then I guess I'll say to council, what do you folks, I've heard Mr. Hoffman say he wants to see wants to go visit a lower cost rec facility. And the great challenge is oftentimes you'd have to, I don't know of one like this where we're trying to reuse space and demolish space and add. It's kind of an unusual model, because I think the other thing they're looking at is when they use their $200 a square foot, all new construction, all masonry construction, which is what most people would do if you were starting from scratch. I don't know if that's what's being proposed out there.
Who did Tamaris bring in for their design?
Brill and, is it Brill and somebody?
Brule and Stidel?
Yeah.
Oh, Braun
Braun and Stidel.
Stidel. Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were,
Out of, kind of
I guess-
show area.
you know, my take on it was both Tamarios and Rulin probably best understood the dynamics of the pool. They really seemed, that, my sense, and I think that's, you know, if anyone's disagreeing,
I agree.
I think those two firms understood best the complexity that once you have a large body of water that you are heating, and that will be evaporating, that will create all kinds of other situations that you have to be ready for. You know, Tamarios was very understood the need for coatings on all the metal that's in that area. I thought Rulin, their designer TC, certainly understood the need for volume to try to get diffuse the chemicals into a larger area. I think those two firms understood that the best. We didn't really get, and both of those firms were talking about a consultant to assist with the pool design. I think that was the same for GPD, although I think GPD and CTTL, the first presentation, I generally thought that was probably of the four the least impressive in terms of their knowledge of Ridgeville. As just, I know that's a typo that happens.
Yeah.
But
The whole page
North
actually was
Ridgeville.
for Ridgeville, because it also
Yeah.
said stadium,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, just saying.
I saw the presentation this morning at 11 o'clock. It was at North Ridgeville for the school district. But the presentation, I guess, but even having said that, they did not bring the guy who's gonna do the work. Rodwell King, who I know, and I like him, he's a good man, I have no.
Yeah, I kinda felt like I was gonna get Versace if I got him. I mean, they acted like he was like this guru.
Well, he's good.
He's good with schools.
But, well, but you're really talking, everything you're talking about here would most likely be in a school. You're talking about a large gym area, and every school has a gym. Oftentimes, schools are putting in pools, you know, so it's not a bad comparison. Locker rooms, all those things are kind of similar, and then the rec center is kind of a version of that. Having said that, I don't think you impress people by saying, I've got a really great guy back home who you're gonna love that's not here today. You know, it's one thing if his mother died yesterday and he's off attending the funeral, you have to explain why he's not here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I add
Yeah,
something
share your
to
thoughts.
Of course, we weren't here to see the Tamarios, or how we pronounce their name, their
Still trying to
presentation.
figure that out.
But
I call him Paul. It's
okay.
easier.
But we saw the other three. Obviously, this project, the only real technical thing that you have to deal with is the pool. Okay? The rest of it, as you said, school design, it's a large, clear span area. I mean, any of these contractors we've seen can build this type of facility. Of the most knowledgeable of pools and recreation facilities, obviously, this last group has that knowledge. But of course, they're talking about $23, $25 million facilities. That's what their expertise is. We're not talking about that kind of facility. So if you can get someone to help you with the pool design, that's really the biggest thing. All these other guys, anybody can do it. You know, so a matter of, you've got to work within your criteria, your scope, and your budget. But they were using, like this last group, they were using Hunziker. I've worked with him, I've hired him before. He's the Cadillac of the industry. You've got pool consultants down here that you can hire. You don't need to buy the Cadillac guy to do this size pool. That's
We're talking Councilman,
Hunziker.
That's for the pool design?
Pool design,
Yeah,
yeah.
wasn't it
I'd say
Councilman
most- I would
Huntsing?
say- Yeah.
Was the councilman Doc Council?
No,
Okay, because he was the famous Indiana swim coach.
yeah, unless he's teamed up with him, because when I did the, natatorium for the Akron
Okay.
University of
Well,
Akron.
Councilman was Spitz's swim coach in college.
Yeah, They may have teamed up with him, I don't know. But anyway, I'm
That's
saying,
probably
you don't
what
need, you don't need that level of consulting services for something. I think you need somebody, but I don't think you need to go and pay big dollars. If they've got that built into the project, they've got some big bucks with them. And I noticed their fees, they were the highest of their professional design fees, I think, that they had in there too, $299,000 in their budget. I've been watching some of that numbers.
Yeah, we should not discuss numbers.
I'm sorry. But
We're trusting you, Connor. Okay. But
But
the
with
point's
that,
well
I think
taken.
that you need to look at what type of experience are bringing to the table. I think they shot themselves in the foot by coming in, they were honest probably, but with the design they've thrown on the board up here, that's probably what they would cost. So what you need to do, we need to all sit back and scope this thing down to what a smaller facility is going to be. You don't need the 9-foot deep pool.
But that's the issue, is the pool that we sent out was 60 feet. I think was the dimensions of it, like 60 feet by 60 feet, small area, not very deep, a dramatically different, I mean, their proposal is,
Well, just like you said, the pool was 1.2 million.
We know that it was radically
No, no.
different. Gene, are there some other fitness centers around that met close to these price parameters that we could go look at?
Oh, that'd be, let's see, Guy Falls.
North Ridgeville's close, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it was the old party center over in North Ridgeville, that went under, and the guy sold it to the city and all that stuff.
Oh.
But it only has one basketball court. Actually, it's more of a pool than
Is
anything
that the
else.
one on?
It's a Y.
Yeah.
It's the Y. So like you walk in and it's got this beautiful tile and stuff. Well, that's because that tile was there when it was the party center, and they just kind of incorporated a lot of stuff. But when you go look at it, it's cut up really bad.
And you know how much that was a square foot, were they?
The Y did it. It's when the Y was wanting to build it here. They said go over and look at it, and it was not impressive at all.
Like that feeling.
It was $1,000 for a family to join.
My gut feeling is you're gonna have to probably be above $100 a square foot.
Could you talk just a little louder?
Yeah, I said, I think you're going to be over $100 a square foot when it's all said and done. But there's a number of things, I think you can look at trying to salvage more of that existing space than, the high bay area, I talk about the two-story, I call it the high bay area, where the gym and the volleyball. That area has to come down, there's no doubt that has to come down. Short of what you need for that, or build that off to the side or do something different, I think there's a lot of things that we can look at, mixing the pieces and puzzles around, or taking your original design that you have and tweaking that somewhat. There are ways that number would way above what you need.
And part of what Berlin was showing was they were saving about 5,000 square feet of what's there. They were just saving that fitness center and a little bit of the entryway, because their pool area expanded so much and that all needed 18 to 20 feet. They were blowing out all that area, demolishing all that area as well.
With new front elevation, they didn't show any elevation of what it looked like, so I'm assuming they're basically putting a whole new skin around the whole building.
And you understand, they're talking about, I like to have views, expand your areas. Views are beautiful, but they come with a cost. You put a nice window in everything, it's a lot more than masonry. I mean, just the way it is, so the views are beautiful, and then the outside construction. I guess you gotta go to the base guy who builds shells and builds commercial centers, the first one, CPM. They came in, we can use tilt wall construction, we can, this is high, we're gonna demo this, we gotta do the footers, we utilize what we can, we're gonna save everything we can. They're the base guy.
That's what they.
Now, they can't, can they do pools? well, we definitely want a consultant, we wanna really work on that, because that would be a lacking point. And are they gonna bring in the proper finishers? Those are the things I think me and Roger talked about. But you know what, as Roger said, a lot of it is the shell. You know, once we get the high bay area and then save the existing, now the components that they have, so they can do a portion of it, but the question is, can they get behind it? Now you go to Merritt, maybe he is, Ron Stettler, he's got the best, cheapest design cost, but maybe Ron Stettler will say, we're gonna basically use what you have there to a point that we're going to improve upon it. I don't know, that scares me, that their design cost, but,
And he's figuring on the pool wise, because he owns a coating company,
yeah, I mean,
he'll just coat it instead of, he doesn't need the 18-foot height maybe,
yeah,
because he'll coat the,
Well, the other thing was, is that with the exception of Rule and all three contractors, we're looking at the suspended basketball hoops rather than, if you store them in the ceiling, you don't have to store them someplace else.
right.
And with the high bay ceiling, we don't have to worry about the volleyball. It doesn't interfere with volleyball. There's 5 or 6 feet of storage area in the ceiling.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Your original, you've gone to the point where your first presenter said, I've got a set of drawings here that are already designed, ready to go to bid. What is in those that can justify the cost where, say, some of the other ones don't? And I guess that's where I'm coming back to your question. Were those kind of questions brought up during the design of that? Have these things built into it? Is equipment cost part of that?
Yeah.
It is part of it. That's
Yeah.
great.
What their cost was on there is their total cost, because I called again and asked again if there was any,
Furnishings and-
and was there any pre-construction cost included, added to that, and they said no. Again, they need to get a bond.
Not pushing hard to get the.
That includes the flooring in the basketball, that includes the basketball hoops, that includes, the only thing it doesn't include is the actual fitness equipment and TVs that we might wanna add.
Does that include a wood floor
No.
for 75,000? Or it's a composite,
That's a sports court.
or a sports court?
Which is a composite, right?
Yeah.
Mayor,
It's a rubberized surface, right?
No, it's actually, I don't even have any more.
It's like-
it's a composite,
It's a
last
composite?
night, it was a composite 10-year life probably.
Yeah, and the bottom of it has little, little shock absorbers. It's like the top sports court they make, and the squares are like this big as opposed to
You
those
can
little
replace
ones.
it.
That was that, and you could, you can run chairs on, if you wanna set up, say you wanna have a prom or something there, you can actually put chairs on it, not have to worry about it, scratching up the finish and things like that.
Ruling made a big deal, I'm sorry, Dave.
But we went to Chicago when Mario and I, and we ran into other sports people, and there's, depending, like she said, depending on how much wood you want, I mean, we saw,
Oh, yeah.
well, there's a wide range of things.
how thick of wood you want, this and that, and there's a guy out of Connecticut that has stuff that's this with the padding and this and that, and it relatively the same prices. Sports court.
I guess, and that's, Mayor, I didn't mean to cut you off there. The issue that I have is the pool that was designed by your first guy. Was there a pool consultant? Did they use a
Yeah,
pool
it was,
consultant?
Pool tech or something? like
yeah, Pool Tech, they do a lot of, they did Westlake's, outdoor pool.
that? Oh, clay,
Yeah,
way back when?
yeah,
That's a weird pool.
they got,
Well, it's odd dimensions.
that's Westlake and, they had a few other ones, Lakewood or somebody else, they did like outdoor pools and stuff. A lot of hotels, like if you go down to Columbus, there's a Holiday Inn or something they put in where it has like a lazy river ride, has a vortex in it, has all the spray things, they got all that stuff in there,
So there were consultants involved in that process?
Yeah.
Same thing with all the different types of flooring?
Yeah.
we used.
Right.
I think everybody, all 4 teams recognized that they needed a pool consultant and all had that. I think the difference between Ruland is, I think most of them went to a manufacturer and had them do it, or that was part of their proposal. Ruland's going to an independent consultant to
design.
And that makes a big difference in the cost.
And
because
she
a lot of
told, and she told me out there that, you know, that lead time on making a pole is like 6 months or something like that, you know. They go to them, then they design it, and then they make it, and they ship it in here, and.
So the other ones were using a manufactured rep, they picked a certain rep of
Right.
product that they were using, and worked around that. And there's nothing wrong with that, really, as long as you don't make it a proprietary spec when you're out there.
The impression I had from Newland was that they were going to design the pool and ship off the drawings to St. Louis for approval, which streamlines things immensely and cuts the cost immensely. But I don't think that they were going to have a consultant other than for approval, or if there was a problem with the drawings too, that that point in time approaches.
Rulon brought up the issue of steel, and I don't know if either of you gentlemen, I've heard of projects that have run into problems with lead time because they couldn't get materials. Is there some truth to what they were saying?
He said there's a 4-month lead time on steel.
That is true.
There's
Now,
like 2
if you go
companies
to a
making it.
Pre-engineered building, and that's what when I keep saying the high bay area, that would be a pre-engineered building package. You would send that out and somebody would prepare that based upon the spans, the clear story, whether it be a flat system or whether it be a, you know.
A detailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of that gets done. But the buildings that I've done, recently they've been like a 6-week preparation time, and then another 6 to 8 weeks in fabrication. So you're talking 2, 3, 90 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, you know.
And that's what he said when we had, Terry's not here, but we had a meeting up here, the one guy that does like all the targets and stuff, he's out of Michigan, I forget the fab, what their name of the company was. That's what he was saying, he said, I'll have this up in like 2 weeks, I'll have,
Well,
once they get here.
when you're going straight prefab, we're not talking the outside finish, okay, let's just talk straight prefab. You know, we were expecting something in Broadview Heights. Talked to Charles Marshall, who does a lot of these prefab, industrial, commercial. He says, oh, bill it all day long, $2 million. That's a 3-quart, full high bay steel finish, okay? So, you know, now you're on the 2, now that's now you're talking about high bay. Now your exterior finish, you do a tilt up, whatever, okay.
That's just a skin on the outside of that,
Yeah.
you can get that anytime.
Yeah, you know, what do you wanna look, you can do the tilt up, artificial stone, whatever you want.
Split face.
Split face, whatever, those are the things that, you know, the Giant Eagle, 84,000 square foot
Right.
building, they came in and did that in, what, 2 weeks? Put all the tilt on the entire building, so the high bay is irrelevant, okay? And for the money that you're looking for, you can, I don't think there's you're gonna be killing yourself there, it's really all coming down to pull what you can salvage. And I'm just, TEC and Roland just said, oh, let's make the perfect building, and how much it's gonna cost, you know? They didn't look at the budget, and I don't worry about the time. That, all the lead time, they didn't look at the budget and say, okay, it didn't cost value at all. They should.
And that's what it seemed like Paul did in his, when he was talking about that, he said, well, we went through, we looked at, we could save this, we could save that, blah, 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 you know.
Take these windows from here, put them over here,
Yeah, so that, and then that's when he said, well, you know, we'll go in, we'll just coat the, you know, for the pool.
So you know, I don't know how it would be best to proceed in this, I think Roger had, but if you wanted to, you know, and the RFQ process, you can choose the first one and negotiate. And if you so choose that, you can't come to an agreement that where you wanna go, you go to the second one, that's your RFQ process. I don't think it'll sell anything different here. I don't know if we're ready to do that, but you might not necessarily be tied in and say, you're the group, you know, you negotiate the price, and part of that negotiation is, or the final negotiation is if you can't come to an agreement with that.
Yeah, it's I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2-step contracting process with whoever we hire. The first step is we hire them to do essentially the design. Because it's a design build, so we hire them for the design, which is why we got breakout pricing for pre-construction. That's what we would be committing to. is that amount with that firm to get us to the point where can we agree on the design of the actual building? And then we would do what's called a GMP amendment, Guaranteed Maximum Price Amendment, in which they guarantee to deliver that building for the price we've agreed to, assuming all the parameters, you know, and that's where the criterion architect reviews the drawings to say, hey, this is what you're getting. It strikes me that what we have, I assume we all agree C.T. Taylor, there's really no reason to think of them. Their pricing's not where it would catch our attention, and they generally didn't bring the guys we're gonna see regularly, and didn't seem to really add any value other than here's some things you could change from the builder and not even the architect saying, hey, here's how to rework this.
Right.
So I take them out.
I agree with
I
that.
kind of move Rulon out on just the theory that the drawing was very nice, and all that would be wonderful if they had a plan to get us to 4.2 million.
Yeah.
But you can't take my swimming pool from 60 feet, increase it by a third, add 2 more pools, and say, man, this is a lot more expensive now. It's like, well, that's not what we asked you to do. I mean, it's a nice idea, and if we had $8 million, that might be the way to spend it. Do you need to have a swimming pool at 25 yards or 25 meters? I don't know the answer to that, other than, you know, if your functionality is it's a learn to swim program for kids, and for adults to do something, but if you want to be a serious competitive swimmer doing laps, there's a lot of other pools for that. That's not what this rec center is going to be for. It's for, hey, it's Saturday afternoon, you want to take the kids to cool off or do whatever, this is a place to do that. You don't need, I mean, that's a programmatic question for the village to answer. And in discussing it with the preliminary plans, the answer was, no, we don't, we need a decent sized pool. And, you know, I regularly, I'm a swimmer. I mean, I used to swim 7 miles a day in college. I know a little bit about pools. I swim in a 50-foot pool during the summer. It's nice. It just means 3 laps is equal to 2 laps in a 75-foot pool. You know, it doesn't change anything other than I push off a wall more, which is kind of nice. But that's a programmatic question for you to decide.
Sam, can we eliminate 2 of these people tonight and ask the other 2 to come back, sharpen up their pencil, leave their company propaganda at home and talk to us about our project?
One question, I know what you're saying there. You hired us to come to a programmatic or
Okay.
schematic portion. I guess the question, after the presentation, your point of eliminate down to 2, do you want Roger to step in at this point with his background, sit down with whoever you choose, try to define the programmatic a little bit more, so when you bring them back, you say, hey, this is really what we're looking to do. If you have some suggestions, fine, but we,
I want more than that, Gene. I want you to suggest to us which 2 that we should be talking to.
Here's,
Oh, well, yeah, we can do
I would caution you only on one factor on that, because you know, if you don't know that 1 can get a bond, then you're down to 1.
Yeah, we need to know that first before we
You're
absolutely first.
So, you know, I don't have a problem setting with Rule and telling him, like I told him out there, you need to relook at this. He says, well, I really don't know what you guys want. Well, you know,
Didn't we send it to them?
sent it to him, and I
We
actually
gave
had,
everyone
I
a
actually
floor
had a
plan.
conversation with Shorter on the phone that, you know, the things that we looked at, that we'd like to have a little different angle here, a little this and that. I mean, she hit it right, but
But
Not
wouldn't
at
that be, excuse me,
not at 1.2 million for a pool.
wouldn't that be the appropriate approach to take with us then, to sit down with everyone and analyze the needs, take your existing drawings that you have, I assume you have full access to those? Or you don't have access?
Do we have the drawings?
Yes.
Well,
Well,
legally, do you have access to them if you're not hiring?
Well, when we buy the property,
We
we
have
get
access to them.
we get
Is
the
that part of
drawings.
your deal that you can get
Well, that's what we proposed, is that as part of the purchase agreement,
Did you say electronic version of it as well?
Yeah, we would get it all,
You could-
but, you know, which actually should help somebody cut their lead time too.
Well, that was where I was leading, I knew exactly where I was coming
And,
from.
and some of their price, because now they no longer have to do all the design to it, they don't have to do all the,
That speculation is, we've now narrowed it down and say, now we've refined, we don't need that 9-foot deep pool, we only need a 4-foot lap pool and, you know, all the other criteria that we can go. We set a list. It doesn't have to be designed out, we have the program of needs, is what I call it, the program of needs. Maybe you've already done that, but now we go back and look at that, revisit that program of needs again, based upon what your previous architect had put together. That, I think, would be a very, say we do that in the next 2 to 3 weeks and try to
But
pin that
we
down.
are able to legally whittle it down?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
The statute generally requires you to rank the top 3. But if you could be in a position where you're not ready to rank the top 3 yet, and you wanna take more information, that's fine.
And you could ask them for more, you could say, now we've refined our program of needs. Then we give them some additional information, I mean, or you want to shorten, basically you've taken the 4 short list and narrowed it down to 2. When is your, this, like you said, I mean, the guy that you worked with, what's his name, the gentleman that did the first presentation?
CPM.
Okay. When will we know when they can get bonded? Is there any time frame?
next couple of days, I told them they had to get it done to us by the end of the week.
Couple days. So,
By when?
End of the week.
is that?
I gotta
is that
move
recommendation or
on,
that's
I gotta move on to get the money at the rate that I'm at, I gotta get it closed in 45 days. I'm at 3.15 or something like that. So I gotta get it closed in 45
Okay.
days.
I guess that, so that you got 4 presentations. One pretty well said, we got plans to do this. Now, that might not be exactly what we want today, but it's close. The other 3 don't. Some of them made minor changes, some of them, so we're gonna redo the whole
Build what
thing.
we want, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna build
So-
what they want.
So the point is, for you to get it defined, that we are gonna go out this section, we're gonna maximize the usage that we have, we're gonna have X square foot, we need minimum of X square foot locker rooms, we want a family bathroom, we have this square area for a pool. Here's the problematic, now you go back and you say, okay, now this is defined, now you've got, there's no guesswork here, don't give us a
Don't
25
juggle,
meter.
don't juggle it around, this is the footprint we want, we come up with a new footprint that stays close to that probably. We might have to do some tweaking, but that's where we fit into the puzzle. We wanna make sure, and then we say, this is the final plan, now what is it going to cost to detail this out and build it? Based upon this level of materials.
But we normally don't, no one's gonna price the building at SD.
No,
You gotta get to 70, if you wanna do that, then you're really talking, you have to get to 75% of construction drawings before any builder worth it, maybe you'll get it at the end of DD.
I wanna throw this question.
But at SD, no one's gonna be able, they can give you an order of magnitude number, which is what Tamarios has done. The only one who's got really a hard number is CPM. And we don't have an analysis, I mean, we know what's in that, it's a 60-foot pool, it's those other features. Tamarios seemed to think that this was doable based upon that, and they presented a budget, but they didn't hand it to us.
Right.
My question at this point, and again, I'm sure you had a lot of logic behind choosing to go the design-build route. Have you thought about, since it's a 2-part process, what if you only did, you hired the designers, and then you did and hired? I know you're.
Go CMR?
Yeah. Wait.
The primary reason for design build was that was really what the village was talking about with the property owner. Initially this started out, it was gonna be a lease with them doing a build out in more of a traditional, so the drawings have been developed. And if you wanted to get, the fastest way to get something open is via design build. And certainly they can flip over and spend 4 to 6 months on design, and then bid it out to a CMR, and then you're talking, it'll be open in a year, or a little more than it.
I understand it, but you're, in essence, that's what you've asked 3 of the 4 people to do.
But going that line of thinking, then, can you say, CMP, you could hire them as a CMR and then have them subcontract out, and the subcontract people would each have the bonding?
No, under CMR or design build, the entity you sign the contract with must
They
be the
gotta have the
entity that
bond.
gives the bond.
Okay.
Okay, to me, I get it down to, and it's my gut reaction, and I might be wrong here, but my gut reaction is, we get it down to a couple, and first we do a programmatic, and we sit down with 2 of them, the 2 that you so choose, and you say, here we are, okay? Or 3, and you say, here we are you good with your numbers? In other words, if we have programmatic, we sit down there, Paul Maris has got we got X dollars, and some of the others got higher figures for it. This is a programmatic. Are you comfortable with that? Okay, that's the first step, because then we know exactly what we're
Yeah,
getting into.
and the answer is, 2 of the firms have told us yes to that. They looked at the programmatic, you missed the second firm yesterday,
But I'm saying,
but both, CPM is saying, we are good with our number and we're ready to sign a contract based upon the construction documents that they have developed.
But the problem is, they may not meet the criteria, because they can't get bonded, they're out of the picture.
I understand that, but then the other firm that spoke yesterday, to Mario, said, they put a budget up on the screen which they didn't hand us. This is doable. We think we can do this, but we need to finalize the design with you, with Bruin Steidel.
Run style.
And he had some changes. He wanted a bigger pool, but he had a much smaller, he had a much smaller complex. He had some other better solutions. We don't have to build, we can perhaps do some family locker rooms with slatted doors, so it's,
The Mario's came up with a number of $4,917,000.
Just under 5 million.
Do you know who the representative was, the architect that was representing Ron Style? Do you know the name there?
Haber.
Who?
Haber.
Oh, okay.
he was very good. I thought he was, what he did,
Well, they actually, they put some thought into it, made some changes. I mean, they impressed me. Now thinking back.
we certainly could, I think the challenge is if we can kind of go back and develop a program of requirements, no question. I guess the nuance, throwing C.T. Taylor out, because C.T. Taylor didn't seem to understand anything or spend any time analyzing it. You throw them out. Tamaris and CPM took what we gave them and said, here's how we can make a couple of minor changes, but we'll stay pretty true to what you want. They made the pool much bigger and their budget is therefore higher. Rulin came in and said, we think this is what you really want.
Nailed it.
And of course, it looked gorgeous. Their architect was, somebody was ready to hug her, for heaven's sake.
If they just could have said,
Right.
yeah, we can do it.
The difference was, I think it was Tamar, or Brunens, who had the formula, I think it was actually the first firm
CPM.
that said, every project's the sum of the budget, the needs, and that gets you to C prime or whatever that whole discussion was. Rulin just said, yeah, we're not gonna worry about your budget, this is what you want. And so, if you have to decide, did Rulin get it? If Rulin got it right, then you don't have a project. Because, or you have to find 3 million more, or 3.5 or something. That's one option. If you think Tamarios and CPM have it about right, then that's what you're getting, and that it's not, you won't find a rec center that is like yours for a comparable cost, because your rec center is dramatically different.
Can I raise a question here? Mayor, you said within a week we would know about the one firm.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the option of waiting a few days just to see how that, see
And
how
I think
that?
we have
Yeah,
to.
we could
See how
sub,
that pans out,
I
because I think-
want everybody to take a little soak time on that.
There's
Because I think-
absolutely
I
no
think
problem
that's a
waiting.
that's a variable that we need to know. And if that becomes not an issue, now we can have a level playing field to work with. So I think that has to be ironed out.
The other key question for CPM is whether, I added the number that they quoted to us for their bond costs into the budget to make sure we're apples to apples. I don't know if they already had that number.
No,
in
they
somewhere.
said no.
That's
They
my
said-
memory.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to add that 80 grand to their.
Yeah, so I added that in so we can compare apples to apples, so that you have that spreadsheet so you can kind of look at that. It takes some time and reflect on it.
And also, just real quick on CPM's design fee, and I think we kind of hit on this, is that 150, wasn't there 150, K in part of the purchasing of the land?
Yeah.
That this may or may not go away, we don't know that for certain yet, do we?
We're pretty certain it does, because basically we're buying the drawings that have been done to date. Whether we elect to use them ultimately is our decision. But it also allows you to kind of, even if you look at that, I think you have to look at the delta between Tamarius and CPM, and they're pretty close.
The thing here with that, the learning curve, the CPM, you guys have already said, they've worked on that for a year or however long that this thing, they know the site, they know the site conditions.
Yeah, because they built the site.
They know all of that stuff. So that learning curve that any of the other three firms, it's gonna take a little while to get up to speed with those type of things. They've got a set of drawings that can be tweaked to meet current needs and some of the other little incidentals that need to be done. Short of getting bonded, my personal reaction would be, you know, I haven't seen their detailed drawings yet to really look at it, to see what level they're at. But if they're shovel-ready drawings.
I think they're shovel ready.
Shovel-ready drawings, you're way ahead of the game, short of us putting our technical advice to it and make sure that we're on full speed ahead.
And I agree with him 100% on that. But secondly, where Tamaris is that not out of step? Because I think he's had to account for utilizing a portion of the drawing or the ideas or the concepts. He tweaked them a little. I don't think he's that far off. So I think he's an inherent, look there, when you do the final programmatic, when you we look at and do the final touches to it, there is a point to negotiate, to come to a comfort level that you can agree upon something. And if those two are the two that you do that, then you make the final decision. I think you're close with those two.
I agree.
All right, everybody's got their marching orders, right?
Can we give Rule another shot at, you know, I was very impressed with their presentation, their ideas. I guess maybe in hindsight now I almost wish I didn't see it, but.
Right.
I guess the
So
question
we
is,
Go back to the other two and say, here's what I want it to look like.
yeah, I mean, if
I mean, we
you,
tried that, and I guess that's where
if you like the rule and floor plan, you know, that pool complex, you have a $2 to $3 million question.
Right, and it doesn't have to be like
Not
that.
necessarily, not necessarily. I think, in all due respect, I think if you like some of that,
Yeah, we could
you
put it
can
in the other.
tweak some of that stuff, and that's where we fit into the picture. We can tweak some of the things that you like, but you're not gonna be able to tear down everything that they said they were gonna tear down.
I'd be amazed.
You won't be able to tweak 3 million out of it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
there's no way.
No,
I mean, but you could take the hot tub out right away.
Right.
You know, and
Well, doesn't this get real simple, though? If you say to them, 8 million is out of the question, design something for us that's gonna be under 5, chances are, if they say I can't do it, they're not gonna spend their time, they're gonna say, you know, we're just gonna withdraw, we're not gonna
Yeah.
spend any more time.
Chances are they put up they've done their work right now. I doubt you're gonna get, even if you ask them for a second, I don't know if they'll come back.
I think they'll withdraw, but why not give them the chance to withdraw, if that's what it takes? If they wanna come back.
I don't have that kind of time.
well, when's your next council meeting?
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday? Does it give CPM until Monday? or Friday
I
to
told
get
me
on?
until Friday.
Okay, so you'll have more information at Tuesday's council meeting, and then you can kind of think about this and decide what you want to do.
That's what probably we'll do.
We got a resolution we need to pass too. It's resolution 17/2014, resolution to approve change order number 1 for Trimore Corporation, amount of $137,582 for work associated with the 2013 Otis Trail East roadway reconstruction and waterline replacement project, declaring emergency.
So moved.
I just wanna,
No, move to suspend the rules.
quick discussion, this is the one where they're getting rid of the white topping and just putting all kinds of.
Yeah, let me explain this. Their bid was so well, it was $1,023,000. The second bid was $1,650,000.
Maybe we gotta have them build the rec center.
Then we took and did the analysis of it, we went back and analyzed, say, could we change the storage system, move the storm system over, make it work, and actually totally remove it and rebuild it, completely new pavement. We redlined a complete set of markups, went through and analyzed it and everything, and gave it to them. They cost estimate $122,000. And I think you're aware that we asked Clean Water if we could finish that last 50, 70 feet right up next by Clipper Cove because that wasn't completed. They allowed us to do that. We will go back and get money back for Clean Water for that extra work, but we did that. So there's $122,000 to basically totally remove the road, stabilize 12 inches and put a 7-inch concrete roadway in that should last 25 years. There's $15,000 for that anticipated increase due to that little section of water line we increased. We hope to get, we pretty confident we can get that money back from Clean Water when we're done with the project. At $137,000 add to the project, we're still $70,000 under the second bidder. They are well within, they were under our engineer's estimate. This will put it slightly over the engineer's estimate, but again, you're gonna get a 25-year roadway, brand new, 7-inch stabilized roadway that we really shouldn't touch for 25 years. That's what we're suggesting, we're recommending it be
We got a motion to suspend.
Second.
Motion to suspend.
And I'll second.
Roll call and suspension rules.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Connick?
Yes.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Silverston?
Yes.
Mr. Walter?
Yes,
Mr. Carlo?
Yes.
move to pass
Second.
by emergency.
Second.
Roll call.
Well,
Mr.
we
Connick?
can have some discussion.
That's what we just did.
Oh, you want more?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I don't think we had discussion. I think we had the emergency part, but not the discussion of the bill itself.
That's what we opened up as discussion.
That's okay, go ahead, discuss.
I just wanted to say that the length of the road from 15 to 25 years, to me, it makes it a no-brainer. For the increased cost, it is value engineered.
Good word.
Let me
Phrase it, the new buzzword
Let me,
phrase.
get a few brownie points. We did go through and do a complete analysis and redlined of the entire thing, and, because of cost savings and because of our relationship with the village, we're not gonna, we wouldn't send you a bill for that. We think it's a much better scenario, so we did that as gratis to try to get a better situation for you, and I think it's gonna work out greatly. So, we do appreciate our relationship and want to continue it. So, that was done in, our behalf for you, so we can get to this point and get a good price for you, so.
Tell Terry, thank you.
Mr. Connick?
And I would ask him if I could reach around and,
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Silverston?
Yes.
Mr. Walter?
yes,
Mr. Carlo?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor, can I say just one real quick thing? Gentlemen, I'm being pulled and stretched every which way, so I wanted to make you aware that I will be here for the fourth meeting or the fourth Tuesday of every month, I will be here at every meeting. Terry will be representing us and be at every other meeting, so that we're fully represented at each meeting. And I will sit down with him before the meeting, but you might not see me on the second week, just because I'm stretched. And if there anything important ever comes up, I will definitely figure out a way to get here, but anywhere that.
Anything else? Move to adjourn.
Second.
Mayor, what's the color dress code tomorrow?
Oh, it's orange.
Orange is tomorrow? Again?
Tomorrow we may go green.
Okay. I just wanna make sure that I put the dress.
I just was thinking,
I do.
There's a motion on the table to adjourn. Do we need discussion?
Second.
Can we just
Second, right?
Yeah, go.
Mr. Molina.
Yes.
Mr. Silverston. Mr. Walter.
Yes.
Mr. DeCarlo.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Connick.
Yes.